Welcome to the Old Wealth, New Wealth, True Wealth podcast. I am your host, Nathan Barkocy. In the True Wealth community and on this podcast, we are passionate about creating time freedom, impact, and purpose through real assets and real relationships, because true wealth isn't solely what you have, it's who you become. Most people don't fail at building wealth. They succeed at building the wrong version of it. So I've seen it in so many people, right? That they climbed the ladder for 20 years, right? Only to realize that they're leaning against the wrong wall, In old wealth, right? Old wealth really focuses on saving everything. New wealth says scale everything fast, right? And so both assume the goal is accumulation for wealth, right? But neither asks the dangerous question, what is this for? Old wealth thinking came from survival, right? So security and stability, you don't lose what you have. So it's about protection. New wealth thinking really came from expansion, right? So scaling fast, leveraging, growth, building faster. It's all about acceleration. Neither one is wrong, right? They're both super necessary because you need to scale your businesses. You need to start your businesses. You need to act fast, right? But both are incomplete. They need each other, and then they need the addition of true wealth. Because they treat, right, both old wealth and new wealth, they're treating money as the finish line instead of the tool. True wealth introduces a third dimension that a lot of people are talking about right now. I think right now is the time that everyone is understanding and coming to an alignment of thinking regarding true wealth, right? Because true wealth really asks, who are you becoming while you're building those multiple streams of income, right? So if your wealth model requires you to become someone that you don't respect, the cost is too high. I've seen this in my own experience, right? I've been involved with multiple projects that I've had to say no to, right? I've had to say no to these projects. Even though there was an abundance and a huge accumulation of wealth in these projects, it didn't align with my true purpose, right? My core person. So I was sacrificing who I was and my values, right? My family, my truth for this grand vision of abundance and of monetary wealth. So if your success is demanding health, right? If it's demanding your marriage or your integrity, you're not building true wealth, right? You've built up a liability as opposed to an asset when you're building something like that. You've built success, but ask yourself, did it build you? Old wealth, new wealth, true wealth redefines wealth as alignment, purpose, and the life your success is meant to serve. You can order yours at truewealthbook.com. When the world is teaching you to accumulate, right? True wealth is really going to teach you integration, right? How to use that in your life, your daily lifestyle. So money integrated with identity, success integrated with purpose, and ambition integrated with meaning. That is found in true wealth, right? That is a different game, totally different game than both old and new wealth. You can see this in everyday life. Someone spends decades chasing income, but never defines their personal values, right? So when they finally, quote unquote, arrive, they don't know how to live instead of the life they've built. They optimized the machine, but ignored the operator, right? So this is why it's so important to understand that true wealth starts by designing the operator first, right? Design yourself, focus on yourself, increase your personal value, increase your knowledge. That's where you gain traction, right? That's how you start building true wealth. This framework is deeply explained in Old Wealth, New Wealth, True Wealth, which is the book that I co-authored with Sharon Lechter, where we're really breaking down how to build prosperity without losing yourself in the process, right? Because we all long for that abundance, right? We all long for prosperity, but so many people I've seen have lost themselves in the process of building that prosperity. So we've all been told this same lie, right? If I just make enough money, everything fixes itself. But if money solved everything, wealthy people would be the happiest humans alive. We don't see that, right? That's why I wrote this book, is because I've seen so many ultra high net worth investors, and I've seen a lot of incredibly established and successful business owners and investors who have created such an accumulation of wealth, but they've lost themselves in the process, right? So money solves money problems. And that's important to know, right? But that's where it stops. So it doesn't solve identity or security or loneliness. It doesn't give you purpose, right? It amplifies whatever already exists. If you're grounded, money expands your impact. But if you're lost, right, it's going to magnify the chaos in your life. That's why you see people who quote unquote have it all and still feel empty, right? Because they treated money like medicine while it's actually a magnifier, right? And so the real work is the internal architecture, building your character, structuring your values, your clarity, and your true calling, right? That we are true wealth is not denying work. It's doing the work that you are called to do to expand your mission, right? And your purpose. So this shows up when people delay their happiness, right? If you say, I'll rest later, or I'll enjoy life later, or I'll be present later, later never comes. Thank you for listening to the Old Wealth, New Wealth, True Wealth podcast. This is Nathan Barkocy, and please remember that tomorrow is never promised. So I encourage you to make the most of today.